Pop defending LeBron, ripping the arrogance of the Fox News host. Stephen A., talk to me.
Well, first of all, I completely agree with Gregg Popovich, but I also don't think that Gregg Popovich realizes that that's one of the very, very reasons you can actually get very annoyed at LeBron James. The reason I say that is because of the passive aggressiveness, the incessant need to control the narrative and what have you, which is something that I've spoke about ad nauseum. Because by and large, when you look at LeBron James, he's one of the greatest ever, not just on the court, but off the court. His greatness on the court can't be denied. But his greatness off the court, in terms of the residual impact that's primarily positive that he has on our youth and beyond, is unquestionable. This is a guy that was a star before, during his teenage years. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated at age 17. He was labeled the chosen one, and one could easily argue that he spent a vast majority of his career exceeding expectations. His philanthropy and charitable works, his willingness to help kids, his social consciousness, the positions that he's taken, how he's uplifted so many people, is just unquestionable, it's undeniable, and it's incredibly inspirational. LeBron James is one of the greatest athletes we have ever seen. And I'm talking about off the court, not just on the court. He is somebody that would have marched on the bridge in Selma. He is somebody that would have been invited and would have shown up when Jim Brown and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Bill Russell and everybody stood or sat side by side or stood over Muhammad Ali. When called upon, he would have answered the bell. That's who LeBron James is. And a lot of times when you're dissecting or being critical of something here or there as it pertains to his game, he leans on something else to remind you of his greatness in other areas, as if A, we don't know, and B, we haven't articulated that position time and time and time again. But we do it every day, and we have to do it again today, because if you are Gregg Popovich with the military background, and you also happen to be white and socially conscious, and you see the world that we're living in, and you see the uphill battle that youth in the minority communities in particular have to fight and battle over every single day, LeBron James is somebody that has debunked and shoved aside all the stereotypes and everything else that's come along with it. He has conducted himself in A-class fashion, and he has been an A-class athlete, and he is a treasure that will be sorely, sorely missed when he is gone. I just wish that he knew that we all know that, and it's something that we never hesitate to say about him.
Gregg Popovich's record on this and other important subjects recently especially, but really always, is impeccable. He is actually, when you think of every high-profile leader in this country, I think Gregg Popovich is the best example of American leadership we have today anywhere. Popovich for president. But I do wonder, I do wonder, Stephen A., that said, is Popovich courting LeBron at all? Not to trivialize this subject, not to say that Popovich wouldn't say the same thing anyway because he's been saying it, but they're playing the Cavs. It's brought up to him. LeBron would be a great fit there, and Popovich is supporting him. I wonder, even if he's not courting him, does LeBron hear that and say, I'd like to play for that guy. I'd like that guy to coach me. I'd like to be the best player of the generation should be with the best coach of the generation, especially when both are socially conscious. I wonder. It seems to me about the content, if you take the content of what Popovich said, Laura Ingraham, and we've talked about Laura Ingram's comments about LeBron, seem to be based on the idea that since she has more formal education than he does, than LeBron does, that LeBron should shut up and dribble. And it's true, she does have more formal education than LeBron, but in fact, she's arguing the point of view of the less educated. In the first place, I really hate the idea, and Popovich is echoing this sentiment, I think, or expressing this sentiment, the idea that everyone needs a master's degree, at least in sociology, before we can talk about sociological topics, even if we don't come from that background. So LeBron James is a basketball player. He's not an academic. But I don't think, and this is actually a criticism that the right has correct, in this country, I believe, which is a PC culture run amok can actually work against a healthy public dialogue. Because if anyone misspeaks at all, they're not up to date with the most cutting-edge academic thought on a subject. If that disqualifies the speaker from expressing an opinion, we are all the poorer for it. Our public dialogue is impoverished. And if Laura Ingram's point is that LeBron is just spewing pure nonsense, well, in fact, that would be her spewing pure nonsense, because LeBron is speaking clearly a lot of truth. Her position is much more strongly positively correlated with the less educated position formally than LeBron's, even if he is formally less educated than her. And I think Popovich's point speaks to that. Good for Gregg Popovich. And really, why did she do that? Because LeBron disagrees with her. So she wants to silence dissent from her own point of view. And the larger issue, which I brought up in a final take, is she's trolling. She's trolling, and Popovich is leading, and LeBron is leading.